Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want to live fully embodied, nervous system regulated, open-hearted, radiant, and alive. Here we explore the practices, modalities, and lived rhythms that return you to yourself, to your heart, to your body, your intuition, and your divine spark. This podcast is for women who are ready to awaken their inner creatrix, activate their inner manifester, and remember, an ecstatic life isn't a destination. It's the path we're walking together. Hello, loves, and welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I am your host, Nicole Goff, and today I am here to talk about my journey from the beginning with healing my nervous system and healing my trauma, and the beginner's journey, the things that you can really do to move the needle in the beginning. Because I'll tell you, I had 15 years of throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying all different kinds of modalities. And I so wish I had had a mentor back then who could have just told me a few simple things I could be doing on a daily basis that would have just helped so much in regulation and starting to feel safe and good in my own skin again. So a little backstory, a little history. After a incident in my teens, I was left with a lot of trauma, a lot of sexual trauma that I carried for many, many years. And as a teen, I kind of was flailing without any way to process that it happened. And so I compartmentalized, I shut it down. And this caused a lot of disassociation, a lot of disembodiment. And so I spent many, many years super disconnected from my body. And not only was I disconnected, but I was actively doing things to disconnect, because there was a point in my life where it was actually painful to be in my body. So I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. I had PTSD symptoms. I had chronic anxiety, panic attacks. There were a lot of times when I, almost couldn't stand to be in my own skin. There were a lot of times I couldn't connect to my own body. I felt very, very disassociated for a long time. And I also did things to further that. I engaged with all kinds of different substances, sexual promiscuity, just go, 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 constantly doing, constantly on the move. All of that was a trauma response. I couldn't sit still. I had to always be in action. I always had to be distracted. Sitting with myself for so many years was just so painfully hard. And about 20 years ago, when I became pregnant with my eldest daughter, that was when I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this trauma under control. I have to rein this in, because I can't continue to live in this disassociation. I can't continue to live in this escapism if I'm going to be a mother. And so that was when I really started exploring different modalities to try to heal. And, I've said this on the podcast many times, but with talk therapy, while it helped a little bit in kind of initiating moving towards healing, it seemed a lot like going around and around, where, it's kind of like trauma dumping without solutions. And so I found that the things that were helping were things that more got me into my body. And it was very, as I said, throwing spaghetti at the wall. I didn't know what I was doing, but I started engaging with things like yoga. And I noticed that yoga made me feel really good. And so I wasn't consciously thinking yoga is healing my sexual trauma. But what was actually happening is I was becoming more embodied. Yoga was a somatic tool that I was using to be able to come into my body and feel safe and okay in my body for the first time in, almost 10 years. So yoga, mindfulness was another one. I had tried sitting in meditation, and meditation was literally painful for me. So sitting still and looking inwards, for me at that time, I had so much trauma that it was painful. Like I could not sit still. It was so, so difficult. And so for me, the mindfulness meditation, which there are walking meditations, eating meditations, just noticing the things around you. It's not so much sitting still and going inward the way you think most people think of traditional meditation, but it's focusing on some things that are outside of yourself, focusing on your breath, focusing on sensations. And so for me, it was much easier to connect with that. And in fact, when I went back to school a few years after my first daughter was born, I went to university for the first time, and I studied mindfulness meditation for sexual trauma. I wrote a thesis on it. So yeah, that was one that was a very big needle mover. But so I started engaging with these different activities. Dance was another one. I started taking up dance classes. Dance was another one where I didn't realize at the time I was following something that felt good. It felt good to my body. I finally was more sober than I had, been since the incident that had happened. And so I was more connecting with myself and what felt good. And so I was just following these things that felt good to me. But I didn't realize that these things were also what was healing me, what was reducing my anxiety, what was making me able to come back into my body and feel, okay with myself, to start to feel all right in my skin again. So it wasn't until hindsight, looking back, that the dots lined up, that I realized, 15 years of trying these different things, how each one affected me. And I could look clinically back on it and see how much each moved the needle and how much each contributed to my healing. And so it's my hope that with this podcast, and then I will also be coming up after this, I will be having a free online workshop. And then that workshop will be put into the vault in my Ecstatic Life Academy for my members and my online community. But it's my hope that I can take these really basic, simple practices that were the most effective for me in healing my trauma and condense them down just to some really short, simple practices that you can do on a daily basis. Because I don't want other women to need to throw spaghetti at the wall for 15 years in order to start feeling safe in their own skin again. I am here to help women heal their nervous systems, come home to their bodies, feel good and love life again, feel safe in a relationship, feel safe with men, heal their trauma. And so for me, it took all those years of trying different things and many ups and downs and a lot of suffering still in those 15 years. But it's my hope that I can reach women and give them some tools and some direction that will make their journey much shorter if they are dealing with these same kind of symptoms. So the first tool that I would like to introduce to you to put into your healing toolbox is your breath. And for me, this one was one that was not the first healing modality that I went to. When I was introduced to breath work for the first time, actually, I found it impossible to do because I really held so much anxiety in my chest. And so focusing on my breath in the way that it was introduced to me felt scary. So had I known what I know now back then, I would have known to start so much more gentle. Everything probably I learned would really boil down to being gentle and kind and patient with yourself, to not try to push through. So for breath work and connecting with your breath, I really would suggest deep belly breathing, really feeling the air as it moves into your diaphragm, filling your belly up, and breathing out for just a little bit longer than you inhaled, and breathing out of your mouth. And so this type of breathing, I know now that I've studied breath work, actually sends a signal to your nervous system. It actually stimulates the vagus nerve and sends a signal of safety to your nervous system. So different types of breath work induce different states. And what I didn't realize, 15 or so years ago, was the breath work that I had been introduced to was not inducing a state of calm and relaxation, not inducing a sense of safety to my body that this type of breathing is. And so just a real simple practice that if you are in a safe place, not driving, what you can do, close your eyes, tune into your body, feel where you're sitting or standing, feel your connection to the earth, roll your shoulders back, and just take a deep breath into your belly, filling up your belly, and then blow it out through your mouth, feeling your belly collapse, and make that breath out just a little bit longer than the breath in. And so do that for just a few minutes or just a few breaths, whatever feels sustainable for you, whatever you feel like you can stay connected with, because the point is to connect back to your body. When I was disassociated, when I was disconnected from my body, even a couple of minutes of meditation started feeling uncomfortable. So again, with the point of meeting yourself where you are and being gentle and loving and kind to yourself. So if 3 breaths is all you can do before you start feeling like you need to escape, then stop there and come back to it later. And this breath is perfect to come back to if you are feeling stress and anxiety. So again, like I said, this will actually turn on your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest. This sends this signal of safety to your body. This sends this signal of down regulation to your nervous system. So if you become activated in some way, you're, having anxiety, something is stressing you out, this is a breath that you can turn to in the moment to actually downregulate yourself, to calm your nervous system, and to return back to the body. And another beautiful way to return back to the body, the second one that I would like to touch on is movement. So, like I said, I got really into dance, but now I know that for just starting out, for just getting into trauma healing and healing your nervous system, that dance might feel triggering for some women. For some women, dance feels like pushing too far out of the comfort zone. For me, I've always loved dance. It's always been a very freeing, just, enjoyable activity that really just made me feel good all over. But some women, they label themselves, they can't dance, and it actually causes shame and discomfort. So I actually would suggest for a beginner starting out on your embodiment journey to do what I call intuitive movement. And so this is not structured. This is not in public. This is, not something that you have to go to a class for or anything like that. It is spending a few moments tuning in to your body and where you might be holding any tension, tuning in to any place where energy feels stuck. And it's actually very helpful to start with the breathing. So the closing the eyes, tuning into the breath, because that actually brings the attention and the awareness into the body. And then just kind of tuning in to see, is there anything feeling tight or stuck, and moving your body in a way that feels good. And so one really simple daily practice that you can do, because most women who are carrying trauma or stuck emotions, the most common areas are in the hips and in the shoulders. And a lot of the sexual trauma gets stored in the hips, in the pelvis, in the low back, in that area. And a lot of women who are overgiving, martyring, carrying the weight of the world, we're carrying that in our shoulders. And so I find that those 2 areas, if we can just work on those, that actually releases a lot of energy, and it actually starts getting us into our bodies if we can practice this on a daily basis. Because at the root of these practices, it's really sending a signal to your body that the higher self, has your back. You have your own back. you are there for you. You're sending this signal of love and safety and caring by showing up every day in these little ways. And so just spending a couple of minutes with these practices each day shows your body that you love it. It shows you that you love yourself. So this practice, while these things seem just really simple, actually can be the biggest needle movers, because after 30 days of every day showing up for yourself a few minutes a day in these little ways, your body can actually exhale the tension, the bracing. You're starting to reconnect with your body. And there's this exhale that can happen. This like, oh, I'm held, held by someone that loves me. And especially for some of us that have had traumatic childhoods, maybe we've never had that kind of steady love. And so showing up for yourself in this way sends such a signal of safety to your body. So I invite you again, if you're in a safe, comfortable place to do so, if you want to stand up and bring a little movement to your hips, just a little bit of swaying and a little bit of shoulder rolling at the same time. And again, I'll be doing a free workshop on this where we will be going more in depth. I will be doing a full tutorial, and then that workshop will become a course that will live in my Ecstatic Life Academy that can be accessed if you join my membership for $5 a month right now. So the next practice I would like to introduce that can really move the needle is self-touch. And this, again, can be very triggering for some people. There are a lot of taboos around touching ourselves. So when I say self-touch, I don't even mean a sexual self-touch. I mean a loving self-touch. And so being able to, again, give yourself that love, to show up for yourself. And if you had a mother who was very caring and, touched you in sweet ways and held you, then this loving self-touch can bring back feelings and memories from that. If you have never had that in your life, then this can be a way that you can self-mother, that you can re-mother. And so this isn't the kind of touch. It's sensual and it feels good. It should feel good, but this isn't the kind of touch where I mean like self-pleasuring. I mean something like running your hand up your arm or touching your face gently. And so for me, this is one of the more recent practices that I have come to, because again, so much shame. There's been so much conditioning around touching yourself, and like girls are very much conditioned to like not put your hands on your body, that's wrong, right? And so this kind of touch actually gets you back connected to your body and loving your body. So for me, something that I have been doing for a few years now is facial massage. And I actually like massage my own shoulders. I'll massage my own feet. So giving myself that loving self-touch. And rather than, outsourcing this relaxation, this pleasure, like going to the spa, going to a massage therapist, I actually have been giving it to myself. And the sense of like self-love that is created is just amazing. And this is something I wish I had discovered so much earlier. So with this practice, what I invite you to do is to find a part of the body that's like a non-triggering part of the body. If touching your face feels triggering, I know for me, so, like the belly area, I've held a lot of trauma. I had medical trauma surgeries. I've also had 5 kids, so my belly skin's all stretched out and loose. And so there's a lot of shame and trauma that I hold in my belly. So that would be an area that's more difficult for me to love. But something, like my arm, again, the arm is not, I don't have any particular negative thoughts or feelings wrapped up about my arm. So taking some lotion or some massage oil and just, rubbing it on your arm. And again, it doesn't have to be arm. You can, could be your thigh, could be your hands, could be your face. But spending a few minutes giving yourself loving touch and staying present with that touch, staying present with the sensations, doing what feels good. And bonus points if you can say nice things to yourself while you're doing it. If you can have some affirmations, and to say them out loud is even better. You are loved, you are beautiful, you are safe, you are whole. So this can send such a loving signal to your body. And so the fourth embodiment tool that I now understand to have really helped me heal so much. And it's the one that I actually, started with back in college, which is mindfulness, and a particular type of mindfulness that can be really helpful. A particular practice within mindfulness meditation is a body scan. And so getting back in touch with your body, it's so sad and so crazy, but so many of us who have had this kind of trauma don't even feel our bodies. Like, if somebody asks you, what do you feel in your foot? Like, do you feel your foot? Like, you're aware of your foot, its location in space? What's touching it? Are you wearing a sock? Are you wearing a shoe? Is it touching the floor? What does that feel like? So getting back in touch with our bodies and actually paying attention, bringing our awareness to them. So a body scan, you start at the feet and you move up to the head and you bring awareness to each part of your body. And so in the workshop, we will be doing a body scan meditation. This is a very, very powerful meditation. And this is something that can be especially helpful for those of you that are having any kind of insomnia. Doing it right before bed can really help to relax the body and to soothe the nervous system. And so this awareness of your body, taking that awareness from being outside of yourself, in your head, thinking, planning, strategizing, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and bringing that awareness into the body and noticing the sensations that are happening within the body, and then staying present with them. Being present to witness is super, super powerful. And with mindfulness meditation, there are a lot of other practices and techniques that can also be very helpful. I wrote a whole 62-page thesis about it, which is available on my website, NicoleGoffSpeaks.com, for free to download. Mindfulness meditation for sexual trauma. So that particular practice, though, I find very important for embodiment. So important for getting back in touch with your body. Another one is the mindfulness of eating. And so that's one that maybe not as beginner, but paying attention to what we're putting into our bodies. Because so many times we are eating out of stress, we're eating to avoid emotions, we're eating to change our state, and probably not putting the healthiest things in our body when we're doing that. So just paying attention and being present with what we're eating. That's another mindfulness technique that can be very powerful, because that is another way that we love ourselves, right? By what we put into our bodies. Or also what we avoid, the way we control our diets as well can be used as a form of punishment. So noticing where we are outsourcing emotions, where we are using food as punishment, and also the other things we're consuming. If you're at a place in your journey where you're still using substances to cope, this can be another place where just bringing that awareness, bringing the attention to it, and not in a judgmental way, not in a punishing way, but just to notice, to bring awareness to the present moment can be super, super powerful. So that was 4 different practices that really, to me, are so foundational for nervous system healing, trauma healing, and ultimately embodiment. So being able to get back into our bodies, to feel our bodies, to love our bodies. And ultimately what this leads to is self-love and feeling comfortable in our skin and being able to live an ecstatic life. So these things have helped me to actually love my life. Whereas before, when I was thick in the trauma, when I was really thick in the symptoms daily, I wanted to escape it. I didn't even want to be present for my life. My life was definitely not ecstatic. My life was chaotic. I was disassociated from myself, disassociated from my body, and therefore not really present for my life. And these practices have just changed me in so many ways, myriad ways. It's been the most magnificent journey. And I will put this out here on the podcast for the first time, I believe. I have committed to writing a book about this journey. I am starting that book in June, and I'm hoping to have it published within a year. And so that you can look forward to that. There'll be more about that. If you want to sign up for my free course, it will be linked in the show notes. If you are catching this podcast after that course has already ended, again, it will be in my Ecstatic Life Academy vault, which right now access to the vault is only $5 a month. The vault has various healing courses, my old workshops. There are all the free workshops I've done in the past live there, and tutorials, health, wellness, embodiment, breath work, all kinds of stuff. There's just a ton of stuff that is living in there, and I'm still just adding more. So I'm officially going to be switching from Patreon to my own platform, and there will be a link to join that. There is an app, so you join through my website, and then there is an app that is associated with that. You get access to my community, to the Ecstatic Life community. You get access to the Sisterhood Circle, where you can promote your business if you are a female entrepreneur, and where there's collaboration and sisterhood. And that is where I'm hosting a lot of my free workshops. So right now it is only $5 a month for founding members, as I'm transitioning away from my $5 a month club on Patreon. So if you want to join that, again, I'll have a link for that in the show notes. And please, if you have any questions about any of this, leave me a note in the comments, send me a message. I always respond to comments, and I'm always like so happy to help out in any way. If any of this resonated and you need to go further, you can also reach out about a consultation or a one-on-one with me. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time.